in terms of just being a pure play caller. And I think he
Yeah.
just has he has an abundance of guys that can, present matchups, and he can put guys in position. So I think the Dolphins are in a better position just due to the fact of they just have it's just so much talent there, and you have a guy, and
Yes.
just eventually it has to mesh together. It
Yep.
just it does.
I
Yeah.
feel that. So it's so. Do you think the Dolphins need a possession kind of receiver?
I don't know. I don't necessarily know. I don't know that whole roster. I mean, usually if you got a nice tight end, I think
Yeah.
that can supplement to be a possession guy. I think
Yeah.
one of the things people kind of get caught up with is these like certain titles, and instead of just looking at it from a role, if you got a tight end that can work the middle of the field, can work the outside and work the inside a little bit, he becomes your possession receiver. Because I mean, you got a track team on the outside, they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
make it easier for underneath routes because you're gonna have to keep coverage further back, which helps the run game, which helps obviously, like I say, the tight end underneath. So I mean, just the way that their offense is, just their offensive personnel is geared. Like I mean, they're like you don't see this too often. Like
Right. Yeah.
like this is like what the Chiefs tried to do with Tyreek and McCole, but McCole is not
Uh,
Jalen Waddle,
right.
and Tyreek is
Exactly.
still gonna be Tyreek. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And I think like I said yesterday, what do you think about when I said that Tyreek can interchange his style? He can play speed, he could play possession. It all depends on what the defense is throwing at him. What do you think about that?
you know what? This is the interesting. I'm glad you said that because I agree 100%. And I think that what people get caught up with Tyreek, and I commend Tyreek for doing this and not just relegating himself to being.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw y'all brought up, like Deshaun Jackson, and
Right.
no knock to Deshaun Jackson, great receiver, but Deshaun Jackson was a 35, you know, 35, 30, 35 play a game type of guy, and he had one objective to get deep.
That's
Tyreek
it.
has mastered the I'm not gonna say master because I don't like using big words, but he's a very very good route runner. He's a complete receiver, and I think people get caught up in his speed and overlook that when we have like these who are the best current wide receivers in the NFL, not too many people bring up Tyreek Hill's name because you just look at it and say, "Oh, well, you're just doing it because you have speed." While overlooking, there have been a ton of fast guys in the NFL who are not doing what Tyreek Hill is doing.
Mm-hmm.
John Ross,
Yeah.
until recently, had the fastest overall 40 time, got drafted by, I believe, the Cincinnati Bengals. He didn't turn into Tyreek. Darius
No.
Hayward Bay got drafted by Darius Hayward Bay and Jacoby Ford. Both got
Mm-hmm.
drafted by my Vegas Raiders, were the Oakland Raiders at that time. They were not
Mm-hmm.
Tyreek Hill. And obviously, like we said, we brought up Deshaun Jackson, very fast guy. He's not Tyreek Hill.
No.
So I think people do have to start looking at it more and say, yeah, when we talk about top receivers, you do have to put Tyreek Hill up there, and you may could go
Mm-hmm.
out and say Tyreek, you may have surpassed Devontae Adams,
Yeah.
just depending on how you want to look at it. But you have to respect Tyreek Hill that he's a legit wide receiver, not
Legit,
a
all the
guy
way
that
around.
can pass. Yeah, most
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
All the way around, because he's
At,
not
at,
a
at this
Mike
point, him
Waller.
having speed is just icing on top of the cake. When it
Right.
used to be the cake, but now it's just the icing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I dig it because I see his game. I see how he play. Like that's why Tyreek Hill can get open every single play. Like he's unguardable. You can't guard somebody who knows that, and he got his route running together immediately. And we got a question from Vamos. I like that question too, Vamos. Keep them coming. Keep them good questions coming in the comments, y'all. If Lamar Jackson had this Dolphins team, how many rings would he win? I say at least one. Lamar Jackson,
No, I don't. I don't. Oh, I'm gonna let you rock out.
No, you was already going, bro.
No. You was
Okay.
finishing. You was finishing up.
Well, look, Lamar Jackson, right? He got some things to work on as far as passion goes, right? Um, as crazy as this is about to sound, right? I'm gonna say this: Lamar Jackson plays the way he play. He has to run. He has to run. That's his getting hit. Okay, look, let me explain this. When you on a football field, right, and QB played football, right? So I remember coming up and playing football. I needed to get hit or hit somebody first to get going to warm up, right? That's Lamar Jackson's warm up. He has to run around, throw some passes, dink. That's his how he gets his motor started in order to start completing passes, right? So he is a runner, no doubt. I think Tua is a better passer than Lamar. That's just me. I think Tua is a better passer than Lamar. But if Lamar's on this Dolphins team, you say he will at least get one. I think he can get more than one with the Dolphins team because of the speed y'all have. And if he's running an RPO, A chain, the fastest team in the NFL, it's over with. How are you going to count? How are you going to count? Now you got to watch for the quarterback, running backs, receivers. It's just wide open. It's like video game like. It's the best thing ever. I thought if y'all got Justin Fields down there with the Dolphins, we talked about this earlier this year, that it would have been a dangerous team. That's just me. So what you thinking on that?
Nah. I mean, looking at the Dolphins offense, the way that they run it, the way like Sean McVay, the way
Yeah.
that Kyle Shanahan, that particular tree runs that offense. That offense is built on timing, is
Mm-hmm.
built on precision, and I think that an offense like that actually hinders Lamar. Like I have no doubt in my mind, Mike McDaniel will be able to build an offense around Lamar Jackson. But the question becomes, would the offense reach its full potential? Would
Mm-hmm.
the full allotment of plays be at their disposal with Lamar Jackson? Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get into the whole aspect of, Lamar. Lamar's in the NFL. He's good enough to throw the ball in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But in that particular offense, and we, like I said, we watched it from what Brock Purdy was able to do, what not Matthew Stafford, but the guy that's with the Detroit Lions right now. When he was with McVay, like that style of offense, and even when Kyle Shanahan was coaching Matt Ryan, it's like
Mm-hmm.
the passing game has to look a certain way. It looks like a work of art. It's a lot of motion, a lot of eye candy, a lot of these particular things. But when it's time to catch the ball, I need you to hit the ball right here. It needs to be timing. And I said this about not to, you know, go deter back off to my Hurricanes, but this is one of the biggest things that I said about the current quarterback that we have, where you have an immense amount of talent, but does the offense that you are playing in, does that take away from some of the things that make you great?
Mm.
Think that a Miami Dolphins, even like I said, even though Mike McDaniel could build an offense around Lamar Jackson, I don't think that gets the Miami Dolphins over the hump. Because
Interesting.
again, yeah, I don't think it gets them over the hump. But if he was forced to play within the system with which Tua is playing,
Yeah.
then Lamar Jackson is not Lamar Jackson anymore.
There you go.
You know, he's
That was
just.
great.
I
That's
mean, but then
great,
again,
bro.
I mean,
I mean, like that's why we that's that yin and yang. But that's interesting though that you would say that you know what I mean because I when you look at it like that and the type of offense that he would be placed in Miami would be different because you got to build around Lamar. You got to play build around his play style. That was interesting. That was very interesting. So when you get to looking at your Las Vegas Raiders. I still want to say Oakland so bad. It's like Commanders, Redskins. You know what I mean? I still want to say Oakland so bad when I'm talking about the Raiders.
I mean, it's
Do
it's
you
big.
really think that Gardner Minshew, because they be trying to drag him and acting like he wasn't the stash, bro? Like he wasn't the stash. He was just the stash down there in Jacksonville. Everybody want to rock mustaches and everything. And now they trying to play him like he ain't that. Now, I must say, bro, what is your expectations from you being a Oakland Raiders fan?
In terms of expectation, what win loss, team performance.
What's your expectations for the team as a whole this year? What's your expectations? What are you happy with as being a Las Vegas Raiders fan?
I think
The
the
out.
def- I think the defense is going to take another step forward.
Okay.
Um, we played well last year. I
Yeah.
think we take another step this particular year. Um, obviously, when you have a defensive minded head coach, you know that's their baby. That's what they're going to make sure kind of steals the show, so to speak. So, and then offensively, I'm looking for a situation. Obviously, we let Josh Jacobs go, but we have a nice, you know, set of running backs that were behind him that we
Mm-hmm.
can rotate. And I think we're going to reestablish the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively. Hopefully, put Devontae Adams in some one-on-one situations. So whether it's Gardner Minshew or it's Aiden O'Donnell that is throwing him the ball, I think him in one-on-one situations, helps every single thing. Um, I'm looking for a tough physical football team.
Yeah.
Um, I would say playoffs, but being realistic, I do think him being even though he was an interim for a couple of games last particular year, we look well. I still do think that he's still gonna be a first time head coach.
Yeah.
Um, it's not so much; it's a little bit more pressure now on you since the interim title is gone. So I do think it's going to be some things that he's going to have to adjust to, even though I'm sure he has
Mm-hmm.
a nice Rolodex of people that he can reach out to, especially Herm Edwards, who he worked for, I believe at Arizona State. He was a defensive coordinator over there. So I'm sure you could call Herm and, even maybe even Tom Coughlin or something like that. But I do think that it's going to be a defensive minded football team. I think we're going to have probably one of the better defenses in
Mm-hmm.
this particular year. And if we can get the run game established, I mean, the sky's the limit. But I'm looking for a solid team this year.
Where I like that. I like that. Great answer. So, what are you expecting out of Brock Bowers being over there? Y'all picked up Brock Bowers to try to get Devontae Adams in more of those one-on-one situations you spoke on. So, what are you looking like? What are you expecting out of Brock Bowers? Like, I mean, do you think he'll have a 500-yard season first year, 5 touchdowns? What you thinking?
I mean, it's really hard. I mean, because when you think about
Yeah.
it, just tight ends drafted that high, like he
Mm-hmm.
was, they're not usually meeting the mark. So even though you shouldn't group them all together and just say, okay, this is what it's going to be. But I'm really not expecting very much from Brock Bowers in his rookie year. I
Right.
still think that he's going to have to get adjusted to to NFL. Obviously, he played at the University of Georgia, so physicality, all that stuff is there, and I'm sure that was one of the reasons that he was drafted. Is you come from the when you're the premier team, you know, guys pick you up. But I'm really not. I don't
Mhm.
like I say. I feel the same way about freshmen coming into play
Yeah.
playing football. I'm not going to put a whole lot on your plate.
Yeah.
You can play your role and be somewhat of a contributor. That's great, and you just build on that and go forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that. I respect that. I respect that. I think my hopes is for Brock Bowers is a little bit higher than yours. I think that Garner, Minshew, and Brock is gonna have a decent connection. I like Brock, and what he could provide for that offense over there with the Las Vegas Raiders. But I like your expectations for your team, bro. I like the way. See, you're a reasonable fan, bro. You don't go way over the top with your teams. Like you really look so realistic into your teams and what they could do and what they can't do. So the ACC. Before we get to talking about the Big 12 and everything else, I want to talk to you about the ACC, right? Because the ACC is slept on tremendously. I mean, tremendously. It's just like people. I literally seen, and the reason why I did the Big 12 versus the ACC was to show some of the Big 12 people that were, and then look, granted, the true Big 12 fans know about it. I should say more of the Colorado type of fans that's talking about the Big 12. No, I'm being honest because they really was talking about the ACC like the ACC's the wackest ever. So I said, hold up, that's what gave me the idea to start matching conference up with conference up in the first place. To do that was because I'm like, how are y'all really on Twitter talking about the ACC being so weak, like the weakest conference in college football? Like, y'all do not know what y'all talking about right now, because that's blasphemous to say that. Now, granted, y'all are they're probably not as strong as the SEC and the Big Ten, and I think that's probably because of business wise, right? But you could not, but you know what I'm saying. And then the history of the SEC, the SEC is the strongest because of history and everything else. That's where everything's pretty much started, right? But when you look at the ACC right now, I believe there is some very strong teams coming up out of the ACC. And I think one of a dark horse team, if you will, and they shouldn't be a dark horse team. Miami should be because of the record they had last year, even though y'all should have won a lot more games than what y'all had last year. But North Carolina State, bro, North Carolina State, they were good last year. They lost their linebacker to us and the Pittsburgh Steelers, Peyton Wilson, named out his name. I think it is. Yeah. But bro, what's some of the teams in the ACC that give you to make you think twice? Like, will we overrun them? Because I still think, because I got the U winning the ACC. I already placed my bets for all conference championships, and I took Miami to win the ACC. I just want to say that. What team should I be looking at to challenge Miami for that? What teams are you looking at for that? You know what I mean?
You
That
just
give
talking
you
about
that.
you talking about overall or just teams
Yeah.
on our
Like
schedule?
overall, what teams overall do you think can give Miami a run for the ACC this year?
Obviously, you got to start with our biggest rival. You got to start with Florida State.
Okay.
Like you said, I think Louisville, again,
Okay.
one of those situations where I say, coaching is now back in the forefront of, collegiate football. It's not just about a certain amount of teams being able to hoard talent and just overpower people. Now you actually have to display that you actually coach around things.
Yeah.
Um, I think Virginia Tech, when we did the last
Mhm.
roundtable, we talked about some teams, and Virginia Tech is an intriguing team because they have a defensive minded head coach. Was a defensive coordinator for the
Yeah,
um,
I do remember that.
was the prior defensive coordinator for Penn State. They had a very good defense last year. I think that's going to be an improvement. The quarterback they have, Kayron Drones, built like a
Tank.
sculpt, just yeah, tank. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think again, he's out there with Cam Ward as well as Shador trying to get better. So I think
Mm.
that's going to be a benefit to him. So I think Virginia Tech is in the prime, position. Clemson, and I don't think Coach Hayes will have a problem with me saying this, but me and a Clemson fan, we were having a discussion,
Mhm.
in the locker room, and he was just telling me some of the moves that Dabo Sweeney has made within this past year. Now, again, like I say, I'm a typical fan for my team. I'm not really looking around at what other teams are doing. Like if it
Right.
comes across the Twitter feed, I see it. If it's not within the algorithm, I don't see it. But he was just telling me some things and some names of some people that they've gotten. And again,
Mhm.
he's a fan, but at the same time, I enjoyed the conversation because again, it reiterates one of the things that I always try to say is that we don't follow other teams, so we don't really necessarily know what they have. We just assume that we got better and everybody else stayed stagnant
Mhm.
simply because we may have gotten a couple of names, right?
Right.
So Clemson, and obviously, like I said, you brought up NC State, and I'll probably finish off with SMU, the newcomer, Rhett Lashley,
Yeah.
returning with a quarterback, which is big. So in the offensive installment, you're not in a situation where you're having to try to get a guy up to speed. You can actually add on to what he can do. They've been able to get some good players in the portal. They've gotten some former players from Miami that some of our fans have disowned. Which, like I said, I don't. I try to overlook those people.
Man.
But those are the teams. But those are the teams that I'm really focused on.
So did
Those
I
are
make a bad bet? So did I make a bad bet, bro?
Did you make a bad bet?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, you're betting on our coaching staff, and you're you're
Yeah,
banking on
man.
us
Cause I
having you're banking on us having a Michigan State type of season. That's what you're banking on. I mean, it very well could be possible. Like I said, me and Cuban and a couple of other guys,